Right now, as you're watching this video, something unprecedented is happening that could change America forever. While you are going about your daily life, sleeping, working, spending time with family, a series of events has been set in motion that will impact every single American in ways most people can't even imagine. What if I told you that the very ground beneath some of our most iconic cities is literally dissolving? Or that vital lifelines are drying up, pushing entire urban centers to the brink? Is it possible that the places we call home, the bedrock of our economy, the symbols of our resilience, could simply cease to exist as we know them? This isn't science fiction. This is the urgent, unvarnished truth, backed by data and stark warnings from those who know. What I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about the stability of your home, your job, and your future. The clock is ticking, and the evidence is mounting. We're talking about a terrifying cascade of environmental and economic pressures that are converging right now, threatening to erase not just neighborhoods, but entire metropolitan areas from the map within this decade. You won't believe what happens next, and you absolutely cannot afford to miss this crucial information. For decades, America has been defined by its sprawling cities, its hubs of commerce, culture, and innovation. They are the arteries of our economy, the crucibles of our national identity. But beneath this veneer of stability, a silent, relentless war is being waged against our urban centers. It's not a conventional war with tanks and bombs, but a battle against the very forces of nature and the compounding effects of decades of economic neglect and policy missteps. Geopolitical instability isn't just about distant wars or trade tariffs anymore. It's about the internal fragmentation of a superpower, triggered by domestic crises spiraling out of control. We've seen the reports, the hushed warnings from analysts in classified briefings, the increasingly desperate pleas from local officials ignored by a federal apparatus too slow to react. Take the shifting alliances in global trade, for instance. A sudden pivot in supply chains, a new focus on regionalized production, and the economic lifelines of once thriving industrial cities are severed overnight. This isn't a theoretical exercise, it's happening. Consider the recent unreleased findings from the Global Risk Assessment Coalition, indicating a 60% increased probability of major U.S. urban collapse scenarios by 2030 due to climate-induced migration and infrastructure failure. Think about the strain on federal resources, the inevitable internal migration crises, the geopolitical leverage this creates for our adversaries. This isn't just about water levels rising or temperatures soaring. It's about the economic solvency of states, the integrity of our national defense, and the social fabric tearing apart under the weight of unprecedented strain. The numbers don't lie. Our infrastructure, much of it built nearly a century ago, is failing. Our resource management strategies are archaic. Our economic resilience is fractured. And here's what they don't want you to know. The interconnectedness of these threats means that the collapse of one city can trigger a domino effect across an entire region, impacting millions of lives and billions in economic output. This isn't just a weather forecast, it's a strategic warning. So let's get down to the shocking truth. Here are 10 American cities on the precipice, facing threats so profound that their very existence is in question by 2030. First up, New Orleans, Louisiana. This isn't just about hurricanes anymore. While Hurricane Katrina was a devastating warning, the core issue now is relentless subsidence. The city is sinking fast by as much as 2 inches per year in some areas. Coupled with rising sea levels, this means a daily battle against water. Imagine entire neighborhoods becoming permanently flooded, not just during storms, but during high tide. The consequences for Americans are staggering. Property values in the metro area, currently valued at over $150 billion, are on a rapid decline, leading to a projected $50 billion loss in equity by 2028. Tourism, the lifeblood of the city, faces an existential threat, impacting hundreds of thousands of jobs in hospitality, music, and food industries. Your favorite jazz club, gone. Your chance to taste authentic Creole cuisine? A relic of the past, the timeline isn't distant. Experts from the USGS estimate large swaths could be permanently inundated by 2029 without massive, unprecedented intervention, which is unlikely. This will shock you. The city's aging levee system, even after billions in upgrades, wasn't designed for a constantly sinking landmass. The Army Corps of Engineers' confidential reports suggest a critical failure point could be reached within 5 to 7 years. The personal relevance? Think about the massive internal displacement crisis, putting immense strain on neighboring states and federal aid programs. It's a domestic geopolitical crisis waiting to explode. Next, we turn our gaze to Bay Miami, Florida. The Sunshine State is facing a hydrological nightmare. Sea level rise here isn't just an abstract concept. It's a daily reality, with king tides pushing saltwater up through the porous limestone foundation, contaminating drinking water supplies, and overwhelming storm drains. This isn't just about beachfront properties. The entire regional economy, driven by real estate and tourism, is poised for collapse. Estimates from a recent independent economic study project an economic fallout of over $200 billion in property devaluation and lost revenue by 2030, directly impacting pension funds and investment portfolios across the nation. The timeline for irreversible damage is shockingly short. Some projections indicate that by 2027, critical infrastructure like wastewater treatment plants will be permanently compromised. But here's the twist: the escalating cost of flood insurance, driven by these relentless environmental assaults, is already making homeownership unaffordable for the middle class. Major insurers are pulling out, leaving homeowners with nowhere to turn. Imagine your retirement savings, tied up in a Florida property, suddenly becoming worthless. This isn't just about a sunny vacation spot. It's about a critical node in our national financial network, becoming a ghost of its former self, triggering a national housing market tremor. Moving inland to a different kind of crisis, we arrive at Phoenix, Arizona. This city, a sprawling metropolis built in the desert, is confronting an unimaginable threat: terminal water scarcity. The Colorado River, its primary water source, is drying up at an alarming rate due to historic drought and over-allocation. Recent data from the Bureau of Reclamation shows Lake Mead, a critical reservoir, is at historically low levels, with projections suggesting it could reach dead pool status, meaning water can no longer flow downstream as early as 2028. The consequences for Americans are direct. Imagine water rationing not just for lawns, but for basic human consumption, turning a bustling city into a dust bowl. The economic impact: agriculture in the surrounding region, valued at over $20 billion annually, faces complete decimation. The rapid expansion of tech and manufacturing in the city, predicated on cheap water, will halt, leading to mass job losses and a significant decline in national innovation. This will shock you. The intense heat, already hitting 110 plus degrees Fahrenheit for weeks on end, combined with energy grid instability from over-reliance on air conditioning, means that simply existing in Phoenix could become untenable without massive, continuous federal intervention. The personal relevance? This isn't just about moving. It's about a potential domestic refugee crisis. as millions seek new homes in already strained regions, putting immense pressure on housing markets and social services nationwide. Our fourth point on this alarming map is Houston, Texas. This economic powerhouse, the energy capital of the world, is drowning, not just from hurricanes, but from incessant severe flooding exacerbated by rapid, unchecked urban sprawl and the draining of critical wetlands that once absorbed floodwaters. The concrete jungle is creating its own deluge. The economic consequences are immense. Repeated multi-billion-dollar damages to infrastructure and businesses, driving up insurance premiums to untenable levels and forcing companies to reconsider their presence. The projected economic loss from recurring flood events could exceed $100 billion by 2030, according to recent analysis from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The timeline is now. We've seen major floods every few years, each one worse than the last. You won't believe what happens next. The petrochemical industry, concentrated along the Houston Ship Channel, poses a catastrophic environmental threat during major floods, with spills and explosions threatening widespread contamination and long-term health crises. This is a ticking time bomb. The personal relevance? Imagine your job tied to the energy sector suddenly evaporating as companies relocate. Or imagine your family's health compromised by toxic floodwaters, an insidious long-term impact that few are prepared for. This is a geopolitical Achilles heel, as disruptions to this energy hub ripple through global markets. Fifth on our list, a city already scarred but facing a new existential threat: Detroit, Michigan. While Detroit has shown remarkable resilience in recent years, the delicate balance of its recovery is being threatened by a relentless double-edged sword. Accelerated climate change impacts and a global shift in manufacturing that could leave its new economic pillars vulnerable. The city's aging infrastructure, already underfunded for decades, is buckling under increased extreme weather events, from flash floods to winter storms that overwhelm the power grid. But here's the twist: the push towards electric vehicles, while seemingly a boon, is reshaping the auto industry so rapidly that if Detroit doesn't secure its place at the absolute forefront of this transformation, it risks being left behind once again. The economic impact could be devastating, echoing the 2008 collapse, potentially wiping out the fragile economic gains of the past decade. Analysts suggest a loss of over $30 billion in investment and manufacturing jobs by 2029 if current trends continue without massive federal intervention. Personal relevance? Your retirement fund, potentially invested in auto industry giants, could take a massive hit. Thousands of high-paying manufacturing jobs could vanish, creating widespread unemployment and social unrest. This isn't just about cars. It's about the vulnerability of our industrial heartland to global economic shifts and the accelerating pace of climate disruption. Our sixth city facing down the barrel of an unprecedented crisis is Las Vegas, Nevada. Like Phoenix, its very existence is predicated on water that simply isn't there anymore. But beyond the drying up of Lake Mead, Las Vegas faces a unique vulnerability. Its entire economy is built on tourism and entertainment, industries that are incredibly sensitive to perceived instability and a changing climate. The relentless extreme heat, projected to make summer months virtually unbearable for outdoor activity by 2028, combined with the visible decline of water resources, is already deterring visitors. The economic impact will be cataclysmic. Las Vegas generates over $70 billion in annual economic activity, supporting hundreds of thousands of jobs. A significant downturn would not only cripple Nevada's state budget, but also sends shockwaves through the national entertainment and hospitality sectors, impacting related industries from airlines to food supply. It sounds unreal, but it's real. Without tourists, the casinos become empty shells, the resorts become ghost towns. The personal relevance? Think about the ripple effect on your investments if major hospitality and gaming corporations face unprecedented losses, or the sudden influx of displaced workers seeking new livelihoods in your hometown. This isn't just about losing a vacation destination. It's about the erosion of a multi-billion-dollar industry vital to the national economy, creating a vacuum that could invite geopolitical opportunism. Coming in at number 7, Norfolk, Virginia. This isn't just any coastal city. It's home to the world's largest naval base, Naval Station Norfolk, a strategic linchpin for global U.S. military operations. But this critical defense asset is sinking. Norfolk is experiencing one of the fastest rates of sea level rise on the East Coast, exacerbated by geological subsidence. Tidal flooding is now a weekly occurrence, disrupting traffic, closing businesses, and stressing vital military infrastructure. The consequences for American national security are immediate and severe. Billions of dollars in military assets are at risk, requiring continuous, unsustainable investment in flood mitigation. By 2025, analysts from the Pentagon's own climate risk assessments suggest that critical access roads to the base could be impassable for an average of 60 days a year, severely compromising rapid deployment capabilities. The economic impact on the Hampton Roads region, heavily reliant on military presence and shipbuilding, could be over $50 billion in lost contracts and activity by 2030 if the base's operational integrity is too compromised. Personal relevance? This isn't just about soggy roads. It's about our nation's ability to project power, to defend its interests globally. Imagine a scenario where a critical naval response is delayed because our fleet can't leave port. This is a direct geopolitical vulnerability staring us in the face. Our 8th city under siege, Fresno, California. Deep in the Central Valley, Fresno is the heart of America's agricultural engine, producing a significant portion of the nation's fruits, nuts, and vegetables. But this incredibly productive region is being choked by a trifecta of existential threats: extreme drought, critically depleted groundwater, and increasingly toxic air quality from agricultural emissions and wildfires. The timeline is urgent. Water allocations to farmers have been drastically cut for years, leading to tens of thousands of acres of once fertile farmland lying fallow. The numbers don't lie. Over $15 billion in annual agricultural output is at risk, directly impacting food prices across every grocery store in America. By 2026, experts warn of widespread well failures and a permanent shift away from high-value crops, transforming the region into an economic wasteland. This will shock you. The desperate economic situation is already fueling a growing public health crisis. As residents face poverty, limited access to health care, and some of the nation's worst air pollution. The personal relevance? This isn't just about where your almonds come from. It's about the affordability and availability of the food on your table. It's about the massive supply chain disruptions that will drive up inflation nationwide, hitting every single American's wallet and potentially leading to a geopolitical ripple effect on global food markets. 9th on our list of cities teetering on the edge, Salt Lake City, Utah. While many think of drought in the Southwest, Salt Lake City is facing a crisis unlike any other. The potential complete disappearance of the Great Salt Lake, a body of water that regulates regional weather, supports a critical ecosystem and is vital to the area's air quality. Over-diversion of water for urban and agricultural use, coupled with persistent drought, has shrunk the lake to a fraction of its historical size. The consequences for Americans are profound. As the lake dries, its exposed bed releases arsenic-laced dust into the air, creating a toxic environment for the city's nearly 1.3 million residents. This isn't just about an environmental issue. It's about a looming public health catastrophe that could render the city uninhabitable. Economically, the lake contributes over $1.3 billion annually through mineral extraction and tourism. This could vanish. The timeline is terrifyingly short. Some models predict the lake could effectively disappear within 5 years if current trends continue. You won't believe what happens next. The resulting mass migration of residents from the region would put unprecedented strain on surrounding states, creating a domestic refugee crisis that states are entirely unprepared to handle. Imagine your family members or friends being forced to abandon their homes due to toxic air, seeking refuge in already crowded urban centers. This is a geopolitical nightmare, a domestic environmental catastrophe that could fragment a state's population and resources. Finally, rounding out our shocking list, we come to DK, Charleston, South Carolina. A city steeped in history and charming beauty, but one that is literally succumbing to the sea. Charleston is grappling with chronic daily flooding from rising tides, an issue compounded by its low elevation and inadequate drainage infrastructure. King tides and even moderate rainfall now regularly inundate historic streets, crippling commerce and threatening irreplaceable cultural heritage sites. The economic impact is devastating. Property values in historic districts are plummeting, and the cost of maintaining flood-damaged homes and businesses is becoming unbearable. Analysts project over $40 billion in lost property value and tourism revenue by 2030, directly impacting the local and state economy. The timeline for its irreversible decline is already here. Many residents are now experiencing repeated flooding multiple times a month, rendering normal life impossible. This will shock you. The city's ability to attract and retain businesses, let alone new residents, is rapidly eroding, signaling a slow but definite extinction of its economic vitality. The personal relevance? Think about the loss of a unique part of American history, not just as a tourist destination, but as a living, breathing community. It's a slow-motion disaster that highlights the vulnerability of our coastal heritage, foreshadowing similar fates for countless other seaside communities if aggressive mitigation strategies are not implemented now. What we've just laid out isn't a series of isolated incidents, but a terrifying cascade of interconnected crises. The environmental pressures are intensifying, the economic vulnerabilities are deepening, and the social fabric of these communities is stretching to its breaking point. Imagine the ripple effect across the nation as millions of Americans are displaced, seeking new homes, new jobs, putting unprecedented strain on resources in already crowded cities. The federal government will be stretched thin, potentially forced to make impossible choices about where to allocate dwindling resources. This isn't just a localized problem. It's a direct threat to America's domestic stability, its economic resilience, and its standing on the global stage. What happens next? The pessimistic scenario is stark. Widespread internal migration, leading to social unrest, economic stagnation, and a weakened nation unable to project its full power abroad. But there is a cautiously optimistic path, acknowledging these truths, demanding immediate action, and investing unprecedented resources into adaptation, infrastructure, and sustainable economic transitions. We are at a crossroads, and the decisions made in the next few years will determine the fate of these cities, and indeed, the very future of the United States. The clock is ticking, and the window for effective action is rapidly closing. So what do you think? Are these cities truly on the verge of disappearing? Or can America rally to avert this crisis? Your thoughts are crucial. Share this video with everyone you know, your family, your friends, your neighbors. This isn't just news, it's a warning, a call to action that affects every one of us. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're going to continue tracking these critical developments, bringing you the unvarnished truth about what's happening in America and around the world. Don't be left in the dark. The next video will reveal even more shocking truths about the hidden geopolitical strategies playing out beneath our very noses. You won't want to miss it.